Hey, Larry, Katie, and Taylor, and Diane are here with you again this week. So we got a couple of quick things early this week. Like last week was so late it was into the next week. So we're trying to get a jump on this for a couple of reasons. Number one is I found and also have attached is an article about quality is everyone's responsibility. And the reason it's kind of pertinent and important, and the reason for it coming up on a Monday or Tuesday is November 10th through the 14th, which is Monday of this week until the 14th, I think it's Thursday, is Work Quality Week. And so I didn't know there was such a thing, but I read about it in this article and talking about quality of work, and so we thought we'd talk about it today and lead off. Next, there's a couple of pressing things. One is the PPAI Expo 2026. There's a registration floating around, trying to figure out who's going to make it to Vegas and come out there, and so we can kind of market to everybody that's coming what the home office team that's going to be there, where they'll be and what they're going to be doing. Some other things is Veterans Day, of course, is Tuesday, 11/11, and you've got an email with the Veterans Day email that you can use for a blast. But we want to remember the vets. The vets are really key to our past and our country and everything that we do. And so, remember the vets. Another one is that we had there's a healthcare best practices panel. Is going to be it'll be invites out soon, so you got to watch for that. Also on Friday, there was a marketing email that went out, new vendor catalogs. It's a holiday ornament. Thursday, marketing sent out one trends and style. Trends and styles. I'm trying to figure out what the third word was. It says styles for right now, the trend, whatever's trending. And then also Friday there was an email and another one, I think this week, from Nate, the November Cyber Minutes. How to stay safe, common scams that you see, on the internet. What to do if you get scammed. And then also there's a travel form that we use if we leave the country that you should do it so your phones and everything work. Also a Mimecast holiday shopping video. Tells you how to use what you're going to see from Mimecast on the holidays. Also, there was a Friday for ASB employees. There's a from the vendor relations, an ASB pop-up store, an OMG store, which is a group buy with Root products, and you'll see a number of reminders. So go out there and do the group buy if you're interested in anything. Let's see, we have, so Amy Spahala had a couple of things that we mentioned last week too, I think, but again, there's a landing page with ACES Elite demo sites on it, and also watch out for attend the Sales Associates Best Practices ACES Express webinar and stuff. It's on Wednesday, 11/19 of this week, 2 p.m. CST. ACES Express is still an ACES Elite store, but you can kind of figure out how to use it and stay abreast of what's going on. Now, a very important thing that I want to bring up again, last week we sent out Pat Pekarsky's email from Thursday on the UPS new prices, the new contract. We want to attach that. Again, we want to stress it because there's three things that are going in there. We got an additional savings from our contract negotiations. And I want to remind as salespeople, we think about gross profit. This savings on the UPS off-rack rate is not your customer's savings. It's ours as a company because we aggregate all of our purchases from everybody to get a big number that is bigger than, well, if you have a customer that is bigger than us in their purchases, they have their own number and they're asking us to use their number. And we don't have a problem with that. We're just happy to use their number. But if they don't have their own number and ask you to use it, then odds are we have a better rate. So here, what does that mean? You don't have to sell rack rate. Nobody sells rack rate, okay? That's like retail list. So there's 3 ways that you can work with our additional savings. And there's 3 ways that our salespeople deal with this. Number 1, which is not a good one, and which is a very, very lazy way to look at the process, but you can do it, and that's just to pass it all on to your customer as if it's theirs. But I'll guarantee you, they don't know what you're giving them. They don't know what you're saving them. You say, oh, I give you our pricing, which is much better than everybody else's. They don't know that. That's just you saying that. And so unless they go out and know, because they can find out the published rate or rack rate, and then they can compare it to your price, and then they, if they're smart enough, can give you credit for that, and they're nice enough, they'll give you credit for that savings. But in my 45 years, I have never had a customer do that. And so, what do? That's our savings. And I don't think some people think, oh, we can't mark that up or we can't change the price. That's not right. You know what? It is right because it's our savings and our price. If rack rate's $1 and our rate is 40 cents, you know what? That 60 cents in there is negotiable. If I charge my customer 20% off a rack rate, it'd be 80 cents. 80 cents and 40 cents, you still make 40 cents that we put into gross profit and share and split. So it's not ripping them off. It's not taking advantage of them. It's being smart about the product sale and where you add value. You're adding value. Now, if you want to go 30% off a rack rate, do it. Now it's at 70 cents. You're still 40. So all you got to know is a percentage off a rack rate to tell your customer and tell your CSR. That is the best way, I think, to do it. That's what some of our major corporate clients are doing. They know what rack rate is, and we negotiate off a rack rate. So that's number 1. Well, and I'd say, well, that's number 2, but number 1 doesn't count. That's where you just give it to them and you don't say anything. Let's make that number 4. So number 1 is you give a percent off a rack rate. That is the most simple thing, and it's the best thing for you and for your company and your customer. It's the best thing all the way around. So percent off a rack rate. So in the rack rate is the published rate. And then, so the second way to do it is that, well, I'm going to go up and I'm going to use GP, add it to my GP. So I'm going to I'm not going to mark up. I'm going to add a profit to that price that we pay. So you tell your CSR, I want you to use a divide method, but I want you to figure out gross profit as a margin. And if you told them 25%, I want a 25% gross profit, so that you would divide the cost by 75. Well, now you can add 12% if you're using the gross profit divide method, right? So instead of 25, it's 37. So you want 37 GP. So you divide by 37 and a dollar is at 63. I think is what it is. And so you divide that, and then you get an additional 12% gross profit. So the third one is to get at gross profit through the markup method. Markup I always found was very, very difficult because it's confusing. Oh, I marked the profit up, or I marked the cost up 30%. One times three. You know what? You got probably a 25% gross profit. You didn't get 30, you got less. You got about 25. So markup is difficult because if you want a 30%, you're really marking it up times 1 point, maybe 35 or something. I didn't ever even bother to understand that because to me dividing was always easier. So markup in that scenario, if you're using your markup process to get your gross profit in your freight, you can add 25% in the markup formula. So number 4, just pass it along and give it to them like willy-nilly and hope they understand you're a nice guy. So those are the four ways, but the easiest one is percent offer rack rate. Second easiest one is GP, gross profit margin. And the third one is markup, and the fourth one, which is a real loser, is you give it to them for free. No free lunch, but you give it to them for free. And what did you get? What's the value that you added that you got back? Boy, if you do that and you get value and you get all kinds of kudos, send me the memo. I want to see the letter in the memo and hear about it because that's a new experience for an old fart like me. So, but anyway, end of the lecture. Best to you and your family. Have a great day and a great week. And we're getting closer to Thanksgiving. But remember, quality is everyone's responsibility. Peace and love.